friends, what is up and welcome back to my channel. As you can tell from the title of today's video, we're going to be unhauling some books. I'm not going to be doing a disclaimer in this video. If you like these books, that's fucking awesome, but I unfortunately do not, and that's why I'm going to be getting rid of them. There are a couple of other reasons why I'm getting rid of some books, but we'll kind of go over that as we go in the unhaul. I'm going to go ahead and get started though, because like I said, I have an entire box of them. Recently, I've been really purging my shelves and just getting rid of books that I know I'm either not going to read again or I'm not going to read at all. A lot of these are books that I have not read yet, that have just been sitting there for a couple of years, and that is why. So for today's question of the day, I'm gonna go ahead and ask you guys, what is the last book that you unhauled? What's the last book that you got rid of? Or alternatively, what's the last book you looked at that you'd purchased and been like, I regret buying you? Because I know a lot of people don't unhaul books. So what book were you just so like, ugh, why did I buy this book instead of just borrowing it from the library or borrowing it from a friend? Let me know down below. The first one we're going to start out with is Reaper at the Gates by Sabat Tahir. If you guys have seen me talk recently, I have been really feeling like especially YA publishing has been pushing a lot of books, and they have been kind of forcing authors to extend series. So this series was supposed to be 3 books, and now it is much longer than that. I think she's going to do 4 or 5. And I felt like this book could have been wrapped into like half of what it actually is. I feel like it rambled on. I feel like the pacing was off. I feel like the characters were stretched so thin because of the story that it didn't really make sense to me anymore, which is really sad because I truly loved the first 2, so I am going to be unhauling this. The next 2 books are going to be books that I'm going to be giving away. Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein. I don't know why, but I haven't really been feeling Kirsten's writing recently, which is really, really sad, but I am going to be unhauling this because it's just not a book that I think I'm going to finish. It was too, I think, dark for me in a way, and that is probably because of my OCD. It just was really triggering to me, and I just didn't enjoy it. I don't know, like, it's really sad because I love Kirsten for her retellings, but I don't really enjoy this book. And then I'm also going to be getting rid of Map of Days, which is the 4th in the Miss Peregrines. This was actually Chelsea Darling Reed sent this to me, and I own it in like hardcover, but I think I just unhauled the entire series last week. I don't think I have it in this box. I've been unhauling a ton of books recently, but I am going to be giving this away as well because obviously this is an arc. So both of these arcs are going to be going to better homes. The next book I'm going to be getting rid of is Middle Game by Shannon McGuire. I did not like this book. I think I gave it 3 stars. I think overall it was interesting, but what really drew me to it were the characters. But unfortunately, I feel like it lacked a lot in many, many different reasons. And I know a lot of people truly, truly love this book, but I dislike it enough to just be going ahead and getting rid of it. I only want to keep books on my shelves that I truly love or know I'm definitely going to read, and this is not one of them, unfortunately. I'm not going to be rereading it. And definitely not a book that I absolutely loved. The next book I'm going to be getting rid of is There Will Come a Darkness. I tried to start reading this last week and couldn't really get into it. Then I asked people on Twitter what they thought of it, and some people really loved it, like a few people, but most people didn't like it. Most people either DNF'd it or gave it a really low rating. And normally that doesn't really sway me, but because I was having trouble getting into it, I feel like it was indicative of like how the book is for most people. So unfortunately, I'm going to be getting rid of this as well. The next book I have here, I have multiple of, and that's why I'm going to be getting rid of it, or rid of this one at least, is A Shiver of Snow and Sky. And this is, I think Jade sent me this a couple of Christmases ago. I still haven't read it, but like I said, I do have another one. So I'm going to be getting rid of the one that she didn't send me. But this is a like wintry kind of novel, and I don't know why like I haven't read it yet because it sounds like something I'm really going to like, but I just haven't. The next things I'm going to be getting rid of is my entire Nixia series. I haven't read the last one, unfortunately, and I really liked this series when I read it, or the first 2, but my kind of, I don't know, this is definitely a sci-fi series, and it's a YA sci-fi series, and it is really good. Like, I feel like a lot of people have really enjoyed this series, and obviously I enjoyed the first 2, and I'm sure I will like the 3rd, but I just really, for some reason, don't want to continue on with the series, and that's really sad to me. I just have no desire, and because I have such nice editions of this, I did want to go ahead and sell these and pass them along to someone else. So it's not that I didn't like it, it's just that I'm not going to continue on with the series. It's not really up my alley right now. Kind of going off of Reaper at the Gates, I am also getting rid of A Torch Against the Night and An Ember in the Ashes. This, I don't know, like, I'm so sad about this because one, I really, really loved these 2 books when I read them, but because the 3rd one was so lackluster, I have no desire to read the 4th, and I don't really want to keep these on my shelves for that reason, because it's just going to serve as a reminder that there's like an unfinished series that I have floating around out there, because I didn't like the 3rd one, and I feel like the 4th one's probably going to lack just as much. But these are the big like floppy paperback editions. This was sent to me from Penguin Teen, I believe. So I am really sad to be getting rid of these, but like I said, I'm just not going to be continuing on with the series, so there's no reason really to keep these books, and I am trying to be very cutthroat, so that's what we have to do. The next book I'm going to be getting rid of is mostly because I want to get a hardcover version of this, but I haven't gotten it yet, but it's The Last Voyage of Poe Blythe. This is actually a book that I was sent from the publisher. This is from Dutton Books, but I also think it's Penguin as well. I really liked this when I read it. There's a full review on Goodreads for this book, but this is an ARC, so I'm going to be passing this along because I'm not going to be reading it. The next book I'm going to be getting rid of, I have the paper, like the dust jacket for, but I don't have my book because it's in my car. And since I'm just going to be throwing these books in my car after I film, I just left it in there. But I'm going to be getting rid of the Guinevere Deception because I tried to read it. I am like 100 pages from the ending and I'm still bored to tears, so I see no reason to keep it. The next book I'm going to be getting rid of is Dropkick Romance by Cyrus Parker. This is a poetry book. I was really into poetry last year, and then I just realized, like, I've always kind of been into poetry. I've written a lot throughout my, like my life. I've been published a couple of times in like a few books and stuff, but for me this just doesn't really hit home, and that's really sad. But because of that, I'm also going to be getting rid of The Witch Doesn't Burn in this one, and To Make Monsters Out of Girls. These are by his partner, Amanda Lovelace, and now when I read it, I really did like it. I think that they wrote something that for me at the time was really important, but I'm not going to be rereading these, and I just don't really feel the need to keep them, which is kind of sad. And then the next books are going to be the And I Darken and Now I Rise by Kiersten White. I don't know what's with me recently. You guys know I love Kiersten and I love her books and I love her writing, and for some reason trying to read them recently, I just haven't been able to get into them, and I don't really have time to waste. Like, it's really sad to say, but you have such a short amount of time to read and a short amount of time that you basically get to exist and be a person and live your life, and if I'm reading things and I'm feeling really lukewarm about them, I'm not going to continue, and that's really how I'm feeling. So I tried to start Now I Rise a really long time ago and I couldn't get into it, and the third one is already out and I still haven't read it. So I think it's time to just cut ties and move on from that series, unfortunately. The next book I have here is actually Ramona Blue. I got this, I think I got it from a friend, or I like bought it off of somebody because I really did want to read it, but I've had it for over a year now and I still haven't read it, and I know it's really popular, so I want to like pass it on so somebody else can have access to this because I'm sure somebody else is going to absolutely love it. And the next book that I'm going to be getting rid of is another book that I've had for a really long time that I know a lot of people really, really love and say that it's like a groundbreaking book that everybody should read, but I've had this for a really long time and still haven't read it, and that would be From Salt to Sea, or Salt to the Sea. And like I said, this is a book that I kind of want to keep because I think that at some point in time I'm going to want to read it, but I think at that point in time I can just get it from the library. This is a book that I've had sitting on my shelves, like I said, for a very, very long time, and I still haven't read it, and I just don't have time to have books that I'm either not reading, don't have a desire to read, or don't have a desire to reread or even let a friend borrow, so that's why I'm going to be getting rid of this one. Now the next book I have here is a book that has been highly rated from a lot of people, but for me it has just been sitting on my shelves for a very long time and I still haven't read it. I think I've had this book for like 3 or 4 years, and that'd be Vasa in the Night by Sarah Porter. This is a book that I think Jade really, really loved, and that's why I ended up getting it, but I just realized that it's not a book that I think I'm ever going to read. It has that very whimsical writing style from what I've heard, which is not my favorite writing style at all, so unfortunately this one's also going to be going, which really sucks because I was super excited about that one. We have another super hyped book here, and that would be Between Shades of Grey. I actually bought this off of a friend. She was trying to raise money because she was getting surgery, and I did end up buying this from her. And like I said, this is another book that people say is incredibly important to read, but I just really, like I said, I've had it for so long and I still haven't read it, so like why even keep it? The next book I have here is a book that I have kept for so long because it is absolutely gorgeous, and I thought the story was just okay, and every time I looked at it, it was always like almost on the chopping block but didn't quite make it there, and it finally did, and that would be We Are Okay. I know a lot of people absolutely love this book, and maybe if I went back and read it I'd love it even more, but I gave it 3 stars I think when I read it. The story is really interesting, but the main character I just don't identify with at all, and I don't mean like identify with in, because this does have a lot of rep in it, I believe she's a lesbian, but for me it was like I didn't identify with her as a character, like who the type of person that she was. She was really cold. She was really like cut off from everybody. And I think that it didn't translate really well into the character, which made her, for me, an unlikable character. So that's why I'm going to be getting rid of that. I have already read it, but I know I'm not going to reread it, and it's not really going to be a book that I'm going to recommend to anybody. So that's why I'm getting rid of it now. The next two books I'm really sad about, but I've read them. They were cool when I read them. I still really enjoy them, but I'm not going to reread them because they are, I would say, a teen duology as opposed to like a YA duology, and that would be Daughter of the Pirate King and Daughter of the Siren Queen. You guys know I really like this series. I think that she does a really good job of writing really fun feminist characters, but also addressing things that I feel like most teen or YA books kind of miss. This is definitely about like female empowerment and taking care of shit on your own, and I definitely appreciate that, but I'm not going to be rereading these, so I just need to get them off my shelves. The next three books that I'm going to unhaul are going to break my heart, but they have to go because I'm not going to read them again. I'm just not. And that would be the Grisha trilogy. I love this series, and I think if I went back and read it, I probably wouldn't like it as much. I really like the Darkling, and I really like Nikolai. But unfortunately, the rest of the characters I don't like at all, and I don't like Six of Crows. I don't like any of that, so I didn't really see the reason to keep these as much as I did love them. I have read them, I have absorbed them, and it will always be a fandom that I like will be paying attention to, but I don't feel the need to have these on my shelves. One of them is signed, I believe, from Leigh Bardugo as well from when I went to BookCon, or she signed my Six of Crows copy, which would be really funny because I don't own those anymore. But either way, I do want to pass them on because I'm not going to be rereading them. It's not going to be a series that I recommend to people. I think that at this point, this late in the game, that's definitely a series that a lot of people are kind of like wishy-washy on. The next book I have here is a book that I think a lot of people were really excited about, but for me, I haven't read it. I've had it for a really long time. I just need to get rid of it, and that'd be The Female of the Species. I've heard some really good things about this, but for me, it just never piques my interest enough for me to want to read it. And this book was actually given to me from a friend of mine who works at Starbucks. One of her coworkers was moving, and she was passing along a lot of books, and this is one of the books that she was passing along. So I did grab it from her, but like I said, I just have no desire to read it, so what am I doing? The next book I have here is a Patrick Ness book. I had a couple of other books by Patrick Ness, but I've already unhauled them. This one sort of piqued my interest, but I haven't gotten around to it in 3 years, so why keep it? And me, the rest of us just live here. I know a lot of people really like this, but I haven't heard too much about whether it is particularly good or particularly bad, but for me, it's just a book that I've had, once again, for a really long time and haven't read, so it needs to get out of here. Somebody said on Twitter that they would pay to just watch me eat these books across my room. That could be the entire unhaul, but we're finally getting to the end of it. The next one I have here is The Beginning of Everything. This was actually on my Amazon wish list because I was trying to find more contemporary novels. My mom bought this for me, but I haven't read it, and I know she's not particularly going to be upset that I'm unhauling it. It is brand new, so it is a brand new book, but like I said, I just had this for so long and haven't read it, and I'm tired of accumulating books constantly. Like, I was sitting here and trying to rearrange my room because I'm trying to kind of move things around for this season because I do that. I'm getting ready to film probably an office tour here shortly. But I was like, oh my God, I have so many fucking books. And I was looking at these books and I'm like, what? Like, as I was moving them, I just started throwing the ones that I didn't want into a box because I was like, I don't want to keep moving these if I don't really care about them. So that's why I'm getting rid of that one. And the last book that I'm going to be getting rid of is a book that I've had for forever that is so incredibly hyped that I have not read, and that would be Milk and Honey. I have not read this book. I've had it for a very long time. I know there's some discussion on whether or not she is like a good poetry author, but for me, it's just like, I don't know, like, I don't really have that much of an opinion when it comes to poetry, or really even like really that many opinions when it comes to books. So this book has just been sitting on my shelves once again for a very long time, and there's so much debate around it, and I don't know, like, I have trouble wanting to read this because I feel like people look at it very critically while I do not, and also just I've had it for a while and I haven't read it, so it needs to go also. But those are all of the books that I have decided to unhaul recently. Now, I did do a massive declutter last week. I think I got rid of about 20-25 books. They were in a huge bag, but like I said, I lost that footage. A few of those books I think you guys may have wanted to see, but mostly overall it was just really random books that I just had on my shelves. So that is all of the books that I'm going to be getting rid of. I need to curb purchasing books. I have been buying a lot of series recently, a lot of big ass fantasy series that take up even more room on my shelves, because basically they are 2 books in one, because they're on average like 600 to 800 pages. But I am really glad to finally be getting down to a manageable book size. Me and my roommate and my boyfriend are all moving into a house together next year, and just thinking about trying to put all of this shit, like all of my books, into one space and like moving them, it really is stressing me out. So I'm trying to make more room in my life for things that I love, and spending a little bit less money on books and spending more time at the library, and really just having a smaller collection. I actually got rid of an entire bookshelf, so I'm doing really well. I mean, I will say also it's because I have my bed, and my bed does have all the bookshelf storage in it. I do still have at least 250 books, so it's not like I'm like, you know, going crazy here, but I used to have about 400, I think, when I moved in. So we're doing really well. But let me know down below the last book you unhauled, or the last book you DNF'd, or the last book you looked at and were like, why the hell did I buy you? Let me know down below. But I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next